I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, but I needed to find my way to all the Cedar Fair parks. I wanted to do this in 2020, but for obvious reasons that didn't happen. But I'm happy to say I was able to complete the Cedar Fair gauntlet in the summer of 2021. I've now been to every park in the chain at least once, and I'm ready to rank them up. These are the parks of Cedar Fair, from worst to best. Before I start, one thing I want to do to justify my rankings is explain exactly what it is that makes each park better than the one below it. That way it seems less random. Also, if you could drop this video a like, I'd appreciate it. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Let's get started. Number 12. Gilroy Gardens, Gilroy, California. Cedar Fair operates this park, but it's owned by the city. Because of that, it's not your typical Cedar Fair park. Your Platinum Pass does get you into the park, but you have to pay for parking, and your drink and dining plans don't work here. Gilroy Gardens is good for what it is. It's just totally different from anything that Cedar Fair has to offer. It's a family park, loaded with nothing but family rides, and there's a big emphasis on nature. It's a great place to bring your kids, but from a coaster enthusiast standpoint, this definitely belongs at number 12. You have Timber Twister, a zero family coaster, and the star of the park is Quicksilver Express, a rare custom Morgan mine train that pulls some pretty good forces. Come to get your credits, stay for the cool atmosphere. This doesn't even really belong on the list, but consider it somewhat of an honorable mention. Number 11. Michigan's Adventure, Muskegon, Michigan. I guess I saved the worst for last. Not only is this park out of the way on a road trip, it's also not that appealing. It's no wonder a lot of people still haven't been here, and it took me until this summer to take a trip up there. I enjoyed this park, but 20 years of neglect have taken its toll. They don't neglect the maintenance or cleanliness. They just refuse to put anything new into here. It was my first time at the park, so everything was new to me. Shivering Timbers is great. Mad Mouse is the best mouse I've ever ridden, and even Wolverine, Wildcat, and Thunderhawk were pretty good. Imagine having that same lineup for the last 13 years. Thunderhawk is the only coaster Cedar Fair put into the park since they took over in 2001, and that was a relocation. So even though I had a good time here, and I don't think it's a bad park, it's the weakest park in the chain, not counting Gilroy Gardens. Number 10. Worlds of Fun, Kansas City, Missouri. When you're talking about the bottom rung of the Cedar Fair ladder, it's not always pretty. Worlds of Fun is a park that I've been to twice, and both times I had the same opinion. You have that same small park Cedar Fair charm, like Michigan's Adventure, but the lineup leaves you wanting more. Prowler is a really strong wooden coaster. I don't like it as much as other people do, but it's solid. Patriot is a below average B&M invert. Mamba is a Morgan Hyper, which doesn't do much. Timberwolf has a good layout, but you can feel its age. Worlds of Fun is better than Michigan's Adventure because of its depth. Shivering Timbers is the best coaster in both parks, but Worlds of Fun supporting cast goes deeper. There's no answer to Mamba. Timberwolf beats Wolverine Wildcat, and Patriot beats Thunderhawk. They're not too far apart, and I think one more halfway decent coaster for Michigan's Adventure could push it past Worlds of Fun. Number 9. Dorney Park, Allentown, Pennsylvania. Similar story to these other parks, especially Worlds of Fun. They saw some investment in the 2000s, but it totally dried up in the 2010s. It does have a really solid 4. Steel Force is a Morgan Hyper, but it's probably the best one of the 3 bad ones. Hydra and Talon are really good B&Ms, and they have a launch coaster in Possessed. Worlds of Fun and Michigan's Adventure don't have a single launch coaster. Beyond that, you have a Wild Mouse and Thunderhawk, an ancient wooden coaster that's not all that good. There's no real standout coaster here. I think Talon is the best quality coaster, but it's tough to have a B&M invert as your best coaster. I think the quality at the top goes deeper than the parks below it, but it needs one standout coaster at the top and one other solid supporting coaster. If they get that Gravity Group shuttle coaster they were planning on, that would help a lot. Number 8. Valleyfair, Shakopee, Minnesota. I thought this park had a really good atmosphere, and that covered up some of its shortcomings. This is the last of the neglected Cedar Fair parks. The best of the worst, if you will. And I really wanted to find a way to push it higher, but I couldn't. None of the parks ranked below Valleyfair have a coaster as good as Renegade. It's kinda dicey to rely on a GCI Woody to be your best coaster, but I think Renegade rises up to the occasion. Like Dorney, you have your Morgan Hyper, you have your Impulse, your Wild Mouse, but Valleyfair doesn't have an answer for Talon or Hydra. This makes it close, but Valleyfair does have Excalibur as a wildcard, and nothing Dorney has even comes close to Renegade. I also like Valleyfair's park layout better, but it has been 3 years since I've been to Dorney, so I need to get back there. Valleyfair hasn't gotten a new coaster since 2007, and they desperately need a big coaster with inversions. That's holding this park back from getting into that middle tier. Number 7. California's Great America, Santa Clara, California. I had a really good time here in 2018, and I had this park ranked higher back then, but I came back here in 2021, visited a couple other parks again, and I have to drop Great America down to 7. I really took a hard look at Great America versus Valleyfair, and I think there's a case to be made for Valleyfair at number 7. Renegade beats out Gold Striker by a little bit, High Roller beats Grizzly, Excalibur and Flight Deck are pretty even wildcards. Corkscrew and Patriot are pretty similar. But there is one thing I couldn't look past, and that's Railblazer. Valleyfair has no answer for Railblazer. That's a huge part of Great America, and it makes it as good as it is. This is the first park on this list that can boast a great 1-2 punch. Railblazer and Gold Striker being in my top 50, and the rest of their supporting cast is enough to fill out the lineup. Doing away with Grizzly would be a step in the right direction, replacing it with a mock multi-launch or RMCing it, and I hope Cedar Fair keeps investing in this park. They've done a good job with it over the last 8 years, but a lot of their big plans have been scrapped. I still hope they keep improving the park every 5 years or so. Number 6. Canada's Wonderland, Vaughan, Ontario, Canada. I need to revisit this park so badly. I was there once in 2018, and it was a lot to take in. It was a weird, frustrating day, and I think I'd have a much better time once I get back there. I used to have this below Great America, but I can't justify that given their lineup. They have 17 coasters, but only 4 of them are any good. Leviathan, Behemoth, and Yukon Striker are massive B&Ms. And I haven't been to the park since Yukon Striker opened, but it looks like by far the best B&M dive coaster in the world. Before Cedar Fair started pumping in tens of millions of dollars of B&Ms in the park, their best coaster was the Aero Suspended Vortex, and that's still a really good ride. Their other 13 coasters are okay at best, and some are just garbage. Backlot Stunt Coaster and Fly are decent family clones. Wonder Mountain's Guardian is a dark ride coaster, and that's really unique, but it's hard for me to rank this any higher with all that junk in their lineup. I'll give them the edge for being so strong on top. That's a top 3 that's hard to match across the whole chain, and certainly not anything the parks lower on this list can match. Number 5. King's Dominion, Doswell, Virginia. The parks that rank 4 to 7 were so close to each other, they're almost interchangeable. King's Dominion has that elite top 2. Their uber intense Giga Coaster, Intimidator 305, and the Airtime Factory from RMC, Twisted Timbers. Some people think that top 2 is the best in the country. I wouldn't go that far, but it's top 5 for sure. Beyond that, you have a strong supporting cast that Canada's Wonderland can't compete with. Dominator is a top-tier B&M floorless. Racer 75 and Grizzly are solid wooden coasters. Avalanche is a lot of fun. Tambili is our new 4D free spin, and that'll be a good small-scale addition. And even though it's too bad they lost Volcano, I think they'll replace it with something really good over the next 2 years. This park also has a really good setting, surrounded by trees, and Canada's Wonderland is right there in the middle of the city. It's a very good park, and the future looks bright, even after a rocky decade where Cedar Fair shifted their focus to other parks. Number 4. Knott's Berry Farm, Buena Park, California. Very recently, I moved this up the list. The park is just so good at what it is. It's the only theme park in the chain, other than Gilroy Gardens, and it's not trying to smash records or be the park with the most coasters or anything like that. It's just trying to balance the old school charm of a theme park with a good mix of family rides and thrill rides. Ghost Rider is a masterpiece. If you look at the parks ranked 5 to 12, nobody has anything better in my opinion. Accelerator is a phenomenal launch coaster. They didn't have to make it that powerful or have it reach 200 feet on the top hat, but they did, and I appreciate it. Hangtime and Silver Bullet aren't the best, but they are large-scale thrill rides and they provide solid depth. You also have Montezuma's Revenge, the last Schwarzkopf shuttle loop still standing in America, and you have a good collection of family coasters. This is led by Sierra Sidewinder, backed up by Pony Express, Jaguar, and of course, Coast Rider. You have classic rides like Timber Mountain Log Ride and Calico Mine Ride. Their Ghost Town area is extensive and well-themed. Fiesta Village is also really nice, but my favorite part of the park is the boardwalk. It looks great during the day with the music blaring, and it looks even better at night. All those lights strung up right above your head, and you get to see all those amazing lights on Hangtime. It's a really close race with King's Dominion, but I think Knott's has a deeper lineup, and everything else that makes Knott's puts it over the edge. Number 3. Carowinds, Charlotte, North Carolina. Cedar Fair has been loving this park over the last 10 years. They targeted this park to be a major destination, and the money's been pouring in. Flying Cobras got them started, then Intimidator, Fury 325, and Copperhead Strike filled out the 2010s. This was a pretty weak park before Cedar Fair took over, relying on Afterburn and Nighthawk to carry the load, along with Thunder Road. But if you live in Charlotte and this is your home park, Cedar Fair was your godsend. I've been here 3 times, and every time I've been impressed. The park has a great atmosphere, it's got great operations, and a total of 14 coasters. It suffers from being top-heavy, just like Canada's Wonderland, but Cedar Fair is working on that. Compared to Canada's Wonderland, their lower-tier coasters aren't as bad. That's a good thing, but there are some easy ways for them to keep making it better. Giving Hurler the RMC treatment is the lowest hanging fruit, so I hope they do it. I don't think Knott's is all that close to Carowinds. Fury is an elite coaster, and that even outranks Ghost Rider. Silver Bullet doesn't match up to Afterburn. Knott's has no answer for Intimidator. Copperhead Strike is more comparable to Hangtime than Accelerator, and it's better than Hangtime. The parks have similar depth, so Carowinds' top tier gives it the edge. Number 2. Cedar Point, Sandusky, Ohio. This is the only park in the chain that's a true destination. It has its own in-park resort. The whole town around it is full of hotels for tourists, and this is Cedar Fair's original and favorite park. They just don't get minor attractions. It seems like they swing for the fences every time. They pride themselves on breaking records, and no park in the world is as deep as Cedar Point. I used to complain the park was full of B+ coasters, and they were missing that one ultra elite coaster. And then Steel Vengeance comes along and takes care of that problem. I don't consider Millennium Force or Maverick ultra elite like some people, but those are those B+ coasters, along with Raptor, Gatekeeper, Valraven, Gemini, Dragster, and Magnum, which I keep liking more and more every time I ride it. I don't think I need much of an explanation for why Cedar Point is better than Carowinds. They both have elite top 3 coasters, but Cedar Point runs circles around Carowinds once you start going down the list. This was my favorite park for a long time, and I still think nobody can match the coaster collection. But I've been here a few times where a bunch of rides and restaurants are closed, and they have random loose article policies on different rides. You have to go through TSA to get on Steel Vengeance, and it just doesn't seem like they're always running at 100%. My number 1 park excels in its operations, and that's why I put it above Cedar Point. Number 1. Kings Island, Mason, Ohio. It doesn't match up to Cedar Point's collection, but it's not that far off. Just like Carowinds, Cedar Fair loves Kings Island, and they've improved the park tenfold since taking over in 2006. Some people criticize it for not having that one standout coaster, but they have Orion, their newest coaster, and B&M Giga, and that outclasses Millennium Force. Diamondback is better than Magnum. Mystic Timbers is an elite wooden coaster. Banshee and Raptor are just about equal, and I didn't even mention the Beast, or the Bat. You can't pass up those coasters either. There isn't a bad coaster in the park, and they have 14. The employees are extremely friendly and personable. The operations are always top-notch. 2 or 3 trains, fast dispatches every time I've been there, weekday or weekend. I've never seen a major coaster closed either. Only Racer was down on my last trip, but it was getting track work. The park is so well run from the top down. I think the park's management inspires a good culture for everyone who works there, and it's such a fun experience, and you don't have to worry about things you shouldn't be worrying about. It's my number 1 park in the chain and my number 1 park overall, and I can't wait to see what Cedar Fair gives them next. Will we see an RMC iBox Son of Beast coaster, or some kind of multi-launch coaster, or maybe a flying coaster after losing Firehawk? Whatever it is, it'll be good, because, like I said, Cedar Fair loves Kings Island, and so do I. That's it for my Cedar Fair rankings. Let me know where you agree or disagree, and what you may have changed around. Sound off in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like and give me a sub. I'll be dropping my Six Flags ranks next week, so you don't want to miss that. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.